Okay, Forest Village from the beginning. How to? We're gonna start a new village and we're gonna play through. Straight into it. So if you guys have got this game, assuming you likely already know what it's about or have some idea, it's identical to Banished. Very much the same in just about every way. Here you can select all the properties for the map that you're gonna play on. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. Seed, the only thing I would say is I'd recommend trying to get a spawn in an area like this because you'll have lots of room to build and yet resources will still be close to you. So I'm going to go with that one. Map size, we're going to go medium, which is probably going to fuck up my seed. Or normal, I guess it is. Okay, I'll stay with that. And that's good enough for me. So if you don't know what this game is, and you haven't played Banished, it is a civilization builder with strong survival aspects to it. There's not much more to it than that. It's peaceful. I've heard there's raiders now, but I have not yet seen one. Okay, so straight into the game. First thing I always do, go down here to these two little houses, open up my menus. I'll explain each one very quickly. This is your resources, which resource you have. It breaks down your population as well, and it gives you more useful information on your village. More of that as we get to it. Down here is an event log. It's pretty self-explanatory. The births of new peoples, the progression of old peoples to different stages of life, disasters, etc., etc. This one's pretty important. Your professions panel. This is where you assign labor to various tasks. You'll see as we build things, these icons will light up, meaning that they are now available to accept labor to perform their individual duties. Right now, you can see we have all of our labor on just general labor, which is pretty much just chopping down trees and resources and building roads and carrying stuff, which is still very important. Next panel, resource limit. First thing we want to do with this is turn our wood, our firewood down from 8,800 right off the stop, or right off the start. Otherwise, all of our wood will be consumed for that purpose. And the last panel is your minimap, which is self-explanatory. Okay, so now, first thing I always want to do, I kind of got a pretty shitty spawn here. It's not as flat as I'd like it to be. It is up there, but I don't really want to do any terraforming. So first thing you want to do, look around. Planning your village is very, very important in this. For instance, right off the start, I know I'm probably going to make this up here a bit of more of a natural area for forester lodges, hunting cabins, stuff like that. Down here is where I'll do my developing farms, houses, industry, etc., etc., and we'll work it down finer than that eventually, but for now, we'll just keep that general idea in your mind. Efficiency in your villages is vital. Can't stress that enough. You'll see that eventually. So now, first thing I want to do is build a farm because starving citizens are not a good thing. Your food will deplete pretty quickly. These farms you want to get up very, very quickly in the air, especially when you first start out. So you can give them as much time as possible to grow. I guess this area will work. Yes, you start in the spring, which already reduces your growing time by a little bit. And of course it takes time to build this, which is going to reduce your growing time even further. So you really want to get people on that as quick as possible, which is what I'm doing right now. Well, that's doing that. down to this doohickey here. This is your resource gathering orders that you can give your people. I'm going to collect all resources in my immediate vicinity here. And I'm probably gonna get some wood, specifically, as well. Like so. It's alright to always have some gather orders just sitting there chilling. In case you end up with laborers who aren't doing anything, then instead of going idle, they will immediately go on to gathering those resources. I wish they'd hurry up with this farm. Another thing you have to pay attention to right off the start too is guys that look like this little house over their head. That means they're homeless. Without a home, they will not eat. They will not go get warm. They won't do anything. They'll in fact die very quickly. Anytime you see that house symbol, it's pretty much your dude is in need and needs to be taken care of quickly. Something I always do down here, these are your time control buttons. Slower, pause, faster. I usually keep mine hanging around 10 times because this is a very slow game if you play it on vanilla speed. So here my farm is almost done being constructed. We're still in spring, so we're still alright for time. I want to get that house up soon though. You saw when I built this farm, I left a little bit of a space between these houses and the farm. I did that for a reason. That is because you're eventually going to want to put roads in your town, and you need to leave space for roads. You can't build a road on a building that's already, or space that's already taken up by a building. Right now what I'm doing, as you just saw, my farm has just been completed. I'm switching, turning on the production of the farm to potatoes. In your first year, potatoes are really only they're the easiest food crop to grow. Everything else requires processing. Or I think the only other thing you can grow is wheat, and that requires a lot of processing. However, I should note specifically that when you're making these selections, you have to hit the OK button. I know it seems like a pretty, why would I tell you that? It seems pretty simple, but what I tend to do all the time is I'll switch my production to something else for 1 year, and then when I go to switch it back, I'll forget to hit that OK button, and I'll go on to another building. The production for that farm is not switched, and they continue to produce whatever it is that has fucked me in past. Just a note, you should pay attention to, and you saw how I went over here to the profession screen. Like I said, once the farm became available for labor, the icon lit up, and you saw how I put on those 2 workers from my general labor force. Note on general laborers, it's a good idea to always oh shit, I forgot I gotta build that house. I'm gonna do that right now. What I was saying though is it's always a good idea to have 1 general labor just chilling there, just for everyday monotonous tasks, bringing things around, gathering things, and stuff like that. But it's also important because if another person in a skilled trade dies, that free labor will automatically take their position, and that becomes particularly important with things such as teachers. Anyone who plays Banished knows the dread of having your teacher die on you and losing all of your students. I've never had it happen in this game before, but just based on my experience with Banished, I'd assume it'd be something similar. But yeah, you always want that 1 idle villager just to take up vacancies as they come available. So as you saw, I just built my house. I'll explain what I did there. Clicked on the house, I rotated it with the R key, like so. I I moved it around until it was surrounded by green, and I clicked there. Just a little tip for you. If you try to build, I'll try to make an example here. Okay, here's a perfect example. We zoom in on this building. If we try to build it right next to that other building, it won't allow you to terraform the ground. So the ground would have to be already perfect. That's only because it's right next to that other building. The reason you can't do it is by terraforming the new ground, you're messing up the already terraformed ground of the other building. However, if you just move it one block away, you can now terraform to whatever level you need to build that building, and building becomes available. So yeah, built the house. Right now, I'd say we're doing alright. It's early summer. Our crops are already starting to produce. Very good. We got our house up. No one's homeless. No one's starving. Now, need to expand a little bit. We need more food, first of all. That is going to come in the form of a fisherman's lodge right away. Try to put it somewhere close to your barn if possible. I'm gonna put it over here, I think. What I just did there, these buildings have to be half in water, half on land. As you can see by the fact it's not allowing me to build it all on land. So once again, R key to rotate. Make sure it's half on. There you go. So I'm going to assign 2 builders to that to get that built. A note on food production. Fields always produce a lot of food, as long as you don't forget about them and forget to put labor on them. They will always produce a big heap of food in the fall. Sometimes you can get 2 harvests out of them if things are really efficient in your village. However, it is not a good idea to rely on just fields alone for 2 reasons. One, you can get, your citizens will get sick from eating only one type of food. And 2, relying on fields in general is a very cyclical food process. You get a large dump of food and then it peters away, and you get a large dump of food and it peters away, and then you get another, etc., etc. Problem with this is you have to be able to predict how much food you will need next year and expand accordingly to accommodate that need. And it can be done if you get really good at predicting your population growth and controlling your population growth and everything. However, if you miscalculate even once, you may lose your entire population in 1 month or 2 months, which is exactly what happened to me. I had a very farm-heavy village, very farm-heavy economy. I miscalculated, and it was spring. In the space of 1 month, all of my people died from starvation. So, in order to combat that, you build a food producer that gives you a constant supply of food. It's not like the farm. It doesn't give you a big dump all at once. It doesn't even provide as much food as the farm. I don't think it might. But it's slowly over time, and that acts as a buffer for shocks when you do take a sudden loss. Well, you have those there that are insulating you from that. They're very good for the long term. If you need food in the short term, like right now, holy shit, next year my population is going to starve to death and build a farm. However, if you want to prepare for the future, build lots of lodges, fishermen's lodges, gatherers' huts, hunting cabins, etc. So at this point in the year, it's midsummer. We've got a farm up. The farm is being harvested, so we're going to get our huge dump of food right now. We got our fisherman lodge up. That's being worked. We have houses to accommodate everyone. I'd say we're looking pretty good for the winter. There's only one thing we're missing, and that is this right here, a lumberjack lodge. These guys will smack up some firewood for your people, so they don't like turn into like popsicles and such. They don't enjoy doing that. So we're gonna slap her down right here. Again, we're gonna take some people off of fishing to get this built, because if we don't have this by winter, it's gonna be bad news bears for us. And then, once you have your lumberjack's lodge, once you have all this, at this point, you are set for your first year. You have nothing to worry about. So, while they build that, and we approach winter, I'll make a few notes on village efficiency. On a small scale and on a large scale. On a small scale, you can see kind of what I've two onto that, no, one onto that. Just putting people onto the lumberjacks thing now, so they'll chop up wood for me. On the small scale, you can already see what I'm getting at with efficiency. Like for here, the lumberjacks require wood. Wood gets stored in a warehouse, and they produce firewood, which gets stored in a barn. So if you have this lumberjack's lodge parked fucking up here on top of this mountain, every time your lumberjack wants to make some firewood, he has to walk down the mountain to the warehouse, walk back up the mountain, split the firewood, walk down the mountain to the barn, deposit the firewood, walk over to the warehouse, pick up some more wood, walk back up the mountain, etc., etc. There's a lot of walking involved in that. Walking is the #1 killer for efficiency, and lack of efficiency is the #1 killer of all villages. So you can see what I did here. I have barn here, warehouse here, boom, fucking lumberjack's lodge there. No walking involved, or not much anyway. Similar over here with the warehouse, or with the fisherman's lodge. I'd mentioned it at the time I was doing it, but I'll mention it again. Right, fisherman's lodge here produces food. Food needs to go to the barn. Barn's right there. Look at that. Not much walking involved. Again, same thing with the field. Produces food. Food goes to the barn. Barn's right there. Again, not much walking involved. Wells are important as well. A lot of things that you produce will require water. Farms for one. Fishermen's lodges, because you gotta throw it in the lake to fill it up to the appropriate level. No, not fishermen's lodges. I don't think lumberjacks lodges either, but a lot of things require water. Donkey farms, coops, fields. Don't know about gatherers' huts. Don't know about hunters. Even if a building doesn't require water to operate, it's still a good idea to have a well nearby in case that building catches fire. Again, going back to the whole efficiency through walking time thing. If your people have to run from this well way the fuck up to the top of this village, it's gonna take them a long time, and your building's probably gonna burn down. Instead, if you have a well right up there on top of the hill, right next to the building that's randomly on top of the hill for some reason, then all they have to do is walk back and forth between the two. The fire gets put out very, very quickly. Okay, on right now, they've just harvested everything in the field. You can see over here, my food production went way up. I was at 1,500 and dropping before. That's the last time I looked. Now we're up, and I think we're at a sustainable level, meaning that we're not dropping, nor are we really raising. We found the neutral ground, which is what you want to see in the winter. You don't want to see your stockpile dropping. Instead, what you want to see is your stockpile sustaining in the winter and increasing in the summer. Should always end up with more than you had last year. That's a strong indicator of a healthy food production, healthy food economy. And again, fishermen's lodges, hunting cabins, gatherers' huts contribute greatly to that sustaining aspect. So we're coming up on winter here. What you saw me just do with this field, because we're so close to winter, you can see up here, up in the top left, it shows a sun with a +1 beside that's the temperature. Once that hits 0, things stop growing. So this field that's not even anywhere close to being done, I clicked on this button, which is harvest immediately before the ground freezes and we lose all the vegetables, which is exactly what just happened. But not a big loss because that was the second harvest, we got the first. So, at this point in the game, you have reached winter. Winter has come. So, at this point, I'm not going to play through winter because this video is already getting pretty long. I'm going to end it here. Once you get to winter, you do something. I refer to it as the summer-winter labor flip-flop. Because your fields don't produce anything in the winter, having people manning those fields, having production on those fields is just pointless. So you might as well take them off and put them to some use during the winter. What I typically do is I'll put them on food production that works in the winter, such as fishing. That's low, like this one here. I'm gonna put one dude there. Then if I have any left over after that, I'll just start gathering resources, like so. And that way, generally, as a general pattern, I use summer for growing and gathering resources. I use winter for gathering resources and building and expanding. It's the typical cycle. This game is really easy to I'm not gonna say beat, but it's easy to survive in this game for a long time if you start to recognize the cycles that your village goes through and all the unique different cycles inside of different economy classes, like tree harvest growth cycles, which will then affect your stove fuel cycle, or how much stove fuel you'll have. Will also affect anything else that requires wood, such as kilns, blacksmith shops, forges, etc., etc. The cycle of your food cycle, which affects whether or not you're going to be alive next year, which to me is at least a pretty high importance. Um, yeah, there are subtle little cycles that you will pick up on, short term and long term, and if you pick up on them and you recognize how you can influence them and contribute to them, then you'll have no problem succeeding long in this game. As last note, heading into your second year, you should be looking at expanding, building another house to get more population, or maybe wait on that. Maybe wait if you wait, maybe see if you get more births, more babies. If you want, you can also upgrade these shacks instead of building entirely new ones, but in your second year, you're looking for the general theme of the second year is growth, expansion. You want to put up maybe one or two more food lodges. You don't necessarily, food producers, you don't necessarily need to man them straight away. Just have them there and man them as the labor becomes available. Build some forester lodges. Start expanding your food production and start creating your resource production, essentially, is the second year. Anyways, this is Fojax, playing Forest Village, and I'll see you on the flip side.